So I was out in San Diego almost 2 years. Things didn't turn out the way I wanted. So I'm like looking at my life kind of from the personal perspective, not so much from the professional perspective. And I'm just like, where do I want to be? And for me, I knew exactly where I wanted to be. It's the same place I wanted to be since I was 5 years old. New York City. So there was the pre-New York me, and then there's the post-New York me. So post-New York me learned a few different things about being in New York. I realized how integral and intricate the city had to be in terms of the story. So with my time in New York, there were a few places that spoke to me in a lot of different ways, which plays into how I write First Brigade. So the one spot where I start off talking about is actually a street, McDougal Street. And on McDougal Street, there are bars, there's restaurants, there's comedy spots, and then there's oddities in between. There's a different vibe. McDougal Street, I learned, was a microcosm of New York because depending on what time of day I was on McDougal Street, be it afternoon, daytime hours, evening or night, you were getting a different type of New York. You were getting a different type of atmosphere. You were getting type of flavor. You know, the energy was always the same, fast-paced, very energetic. People got things to do, things to see, and places to be. But what McDougal Street taught me was that anything random can happen at any given time in New York.
Gates of hell can open up in Times Square and it'd be like, okay, it must be a Wednesday.
That was one of those things in terms of like thinking about the whole one and done and playing into the whole New York vibe. It was like, okay, really play into the whole idea that on any given day, any given time, anything random, absurd, normal could probably happen. I would say that was one huge influence on First Brigade. And the second one, Brooklyn. I'm talking about BK. Brooklyn! Just like the whole borough. Like, Brooklyn was home. Brooklyn became home. Brooklyn was where I really realized as much as, I wasn't from New York. I got down and I vibed with Brooklyn the hardest. Like they say, spread love the Brooklyn way. Yes, Brooklyn spreads love. Just the love and energy and respect and the randomness, just like any other part of New York. All of those things really helped me think about New York as a character in this story. New York City is a character in this book in a similar vein as I would say Gotham City is. Sometimes is the best friend of the First Brigade members and sometimes is the worst enemy. It's just one of those things that I am grateful to have in my back pocket as a storyteller. So my time in New York was necessary to the development of the story. And because of that time I spent in New York, I go back often. Like whether I'm just out there just randomly visiting friends or I'm out there for something specific, New York is still home for me. So I hope that translates to the pages of the First Brigade, that you can feel that I'm not writing about New York from a bitter perspective. It's a love letter. So First Brigade is a love letter to superhero stories for me. And writing New York within the confines of First Brigade is my love letter to New York. So there were a lot of things I did like about New York, and I do like about New York. Not the Knicks. I've never been a Knicks fan. 90s era Bulls. Come on, y'all.